Alright, people, since you all seem to, well, the couple of you who have seen and responded to my last Bad Fanfiction Tropes video indicated you seem to like the idea, so I've come up with another one. As I made it clear in the last video with my terrible ramblings, which, guess what, it's still happening, I am a connoisseur of bad fanfiction. Especially, you know, like, what, 10 years ago? Jesus. When I had nothing else to do, no internet access, no video game consoles, well, no internet access except for a cell phone. So it's like, well, what are you gonna do? I can't find any books to read, can't get any new Star Wars material, so fanfic.net, here I come. And oh boy, have I read some really good fanfictions. Yeah, full of lemons. The one I want to talk about this time, and of course we're talking about tropes. One of the tropes that I've seen pop up time and again, and it drives me up the frickin' walls every time I see it, is what I'm going to be calling the Anti-Anakin. And this is a character, and it can be a multitude of any character, it can be any which way, male, female, made up, usually not made up though. So usually canon, and by canon I mean legends, but you know, I'm sure fanfictions regarding characters in canon, stupid as that sounds, have popped up in fanfics, but you know, I don't read those. But what I'm talking about is when you have a story where the main selling point is Anakin Skywalker does not become Darth Vader in Episode 3. Now, there can be a lot of build-up, there can be a story surrounding, usually he came back from the past, he was Darth Vader, but then the Force was like, oh, my son, you've had such a terrible life here, let me throw you back to exactly 10 minutes before you made the worst decision of your life, whatever that may be.
Whatever happened?
I went into public service. He went on to become an artist.
Maybe he was the smart one.
You really don't like politicians, do you?
I like 2 or 3.
Do it.
We need a system where the politicians sit down and discuss the problem. Agree what's in the best interest of all the people, and then do it.
Do it.
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too. They're like animals. And I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
Do it.
No!
Do it.
Please, no!
Do it.
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan. The Jedi turned against me. Don't you turn against me.
Do it.
You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!
No!
Do it.
I shouldn't.
Do it, you bitch! Do it!
Or, you know, some random happenstance happens to where he's a better person, or he's a more controlled, leveled person, and he doesn't turn evil, etc., etc. And those stories can be just fine. I've read really good stories where he doesn't turn evil, and it leaves you feeling happy, and you almost want those to be how the story ends, but, you know, you have to take canon for what it is, and he turns evil, and tragedy, and, you know, it's a good tragic story. However, when people write that, what they seem to think we need, then, is what we call an anti-Anakin. Someone who, because Anakin is not evil, has to now be evil to fill the void. And oh man, have I read some leaps of logic to make certain people evil who would never in their right fucking mind turn evil as fast as these writers seem to think someone can go from being a wholesome, decent person to murderous, evil, laughing, maniacal psychopath. For instance, let's say, and again, I'm pulling from stories I have read in the past. I'm not going to give names unless it's exceptionally bad, and I think that the writer has given up because, you know, fanfic writers, as much as I give them shit, some of them are trying, and some of them, you know, they're dabbling in writing, so they don't deserve to be shit on. But that doesn't excuse some of the points. Let's say in your story, you fanfiction writer out there in the ether, Anakin is not going to turn evil because X, Y, or Z reasons, so you need a bad guy to fill in the void of tragic, I don't know, character. So, let's see, who can you turn evil? Option A, Ahsoka Tano.
Oh, goody.
Because that happens a lot. Ahsoka randomly decides she's in love with her master. Ahsoka randomly has some tragic thing happen. She's in a relationship with Lux Bontieri, and he fucking dies, so she turns evil. Anakin goes missing along with Obi-Wan on some planet, so Palpatine's like, let's see, I need someone to turn evil for me. I know, how about Anakin's apprentice? Oh, Ahsoka, if you work with me, we can find your master, but you must use the dark side. Which is some leap in logic. Ahsoka, look, you can see into the future, and in order to stop the future from happening, you must yourself become evil.
I will change the future! I will not let it happen!
This is really stupid. And I don't even like her character, so it makes it all the more, like, unbearable for me when I have to read about this angsty teenager turning evil because her master A doesn't love her, B is missing, or C is turning evil so she has to be evil instead. It's ridiculous. Okay, option B of who's gonna take Anakin's place, place your bets. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Oh, I know. How about Mace fucking Windu?
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell!
Yeah. There's almost a precedent for this. In episode 3, this scene.
I am going to end this once and for all. He has control of the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
Please don't. Please don't. No!
You know, that's not a very Jedi thing to do, to want to kill the Chancellor, even if he is a Sith Lord. In that moment when Mace decides he's going to kill an unarmed opponent, unarmed, you know, quote unquote, he is making a dark move, and that could have severe repercussions if he was allowed to get away with it. But, I'm sorry, Mace Windu, he may be a hard ass, he's a stingy son of a bitch, you know, but I just don't see him turning evil for evil's sake. I don't buy it. There's not a lot of cases where this happened. I read one story, and oh man, this one was a stinker, where Anakin somehow convinced Obi-Wan that they needed to turn to the dark side and create the Empire because the Jedi were corrupt and blah 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 blah. Somehow Obi-Wan went along with the ride, even though they ended up murdering, you know, the Jedi. And it was Yoda and Mace, and Mace gets fucking wrecked on Mustafar by Obi-Wan. And Yoda puts Mace Windu in the Darth Vader costume.
Oh, man. I will never forgive your ass for this shit. This is some fucked up repugnant shit.
The Death Star plans are not in the main computer.
Hey, if we want to hear you talk, I will shove my arm up your ass and work your mouth like a puppet. You hear me? You hear me? What?
The Imperial Senate will not sit still for this. When they hear you've attacked a
But why don't
diplomat...
we leapfrog all that bullshit? Save ourselves a lot of aggravation and time, of which there's close to zero.
And Mace becomes Darth Vader. So this was one of the weirdest stories I've ever... I'm sorry, I just remembered how ridiculous that story was. Mace Windu becoming Darth Vader is the most fanficky fucking thing you can possibly write, and it was glorious in its absurdity because you were expecting the sequel to see what Mace Vader would do, and the sequel never got written, and I was disappointed. Because I wanted to see what the fuck their excuse is going to be for this bullshit. Because Anakin and Obi-Wan are in charge of the Empire along with Padme and all them. So, who is Mace going to be torturing exactly? He's a rebel.
I rebel.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Ridiculous. And what the fuck is Yoda thinking? He's not thinking. Qui-Gon.
Feel, don't think.
Okay, so option C, you have to see it coming. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Randomly turn. You want to talk about Mace Windu not turning dark? Obi-Wan Kenobi is the epitome of a good, moral, Jedi code-driven Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, Jedi is what I meant to say. But I know that there is stories where he's felt, you know, dark side, especially like when Qui-Gon was killed. The Phantom Menace novel indicates that he touched it, the dark side, especially when you can see it in the movie too, when he finally gets his chance to fight Maul, he just goes in on him. And that's a lot of aggression and anger just being let out, and, you know, it backfired on him. He wasn't thinking. Maul got the better of him. And then he started to think again. He started to, like, really let go of that and just think logically about, okay, I'm hanging from a fucking... I don't even know what this is. I'm hanging from it, and I need to kill this asshole who's trying to use sparks to make me fall to my death. Okay. Fine, fair, pure, good stuff. And the Clone Wars, of which I barely remember any of it because it wasn't really that interesting to me, personally. If you loved it, more power to you. I'm never going to take that away from you. His stuff, when it comes to him, like, wanting to have this relationship with this Satine person, which I felt really unnecessary, to be honest, considering we had a very good story about Obi-Wan Kenobi maybe being in a relationship, but then saying, no, I have to be a good Jedi, with, no, don't leave me now. If you leave me now. Come on. What is her name? Oh my god, I hate myself for not remembering the Jedi's name. Siri! Thank you. But, you know, it's neither here nor there to talk about Obi-Wan's, you know, love life, or lack thereof, to be frank. But there's little evidence anywhere to say Obi-Wan Kenobi is just going to randomly turn evil. To be honest, I've only seen a couple of stories, and they are usually long slogs about how Obi-Wan is an angsty, you know... I don't even want to talk about some of the stories I've read where he turns evil because they're not really well written. Some of them can be, but they require long histories, they require long stories, they require an entire story in and of themselves where Anakin is not even the subject or the focus of the story. It's always Obi-Wan. The weird twists and turns Obi-Wan's life can... The weird twists and turns Obi-Wan's life can take deserve an entire bad fanfiction trope video in and of themselves. But to just put it bluntly, no. Obi-Wan Kenobi, never, not in a million years, stop it. If you're gonna make him evil, write an entire fucking story revolving around how the fuck he's gonna be evil. Don't just, oh, Anakin's gone. Ugh, evil Obi-Wan. Oh, hey, Anakin's hurt. Evil Obi-Wan. Hey, Obi-Wan, you went into the future and you saw Anakin turning evil, just like Ahsoka Tano. Now you have to take all the evil shit. Evil Obi-Wan Kenobi. Darth Kenobi. When people don't understand what the Darth moniker is. You know, and oh boy, it can get pretty stupid too, sometimes randomly turning people evil, because sometimes fanfic writers seem to understand you can't just turn a established character evil, so they take other leaps and bounds to make people evil. There was one story, and this one was really contrived. Again, the whole time travel thing is really fanficky and rarely fucking works. It deserves an entire video in and of itself. But this story I'm talking about involved a lot of time travel bullshit going on back and forth. And one of the aspects was the characters from the distant future. I'm talking Legacy of the Force era, going back in time, the Clone Wars, like episode 3. And one thing leads to another. I started like losing interest when they really started just going off the rails. But essentially, Anakin was not going to be turning evil anytime soon. So Palpatine had to have somebody on his side, right? Well, let's just get Asherard Het to turn into Darth Krayt really early. It's just really stupid, because he was like kept and tortured and turned evil because Palpatine did things, you know, whatever the things Palpatine does to make people evil, because he is evil for evil's sake, as we discussed. Jesus, who else? I've seen ridiculous leaps and bounds made to turn, just about anyone evil. You know, it doesn't really matter to some fanfic writers. They just need secondary evil person, even though it doesn't really call for it sometimes. Like, most of the good stories I've seen where Anakin manages to not turn to the dark side in episode 3 or around the episode 3 time usually just let the story go. They don't feel the need to force someone. Sometimes they do it. They have someone be evil, but they usually have to build into that, let it flow. But the ones that I've seen where he's not, you know, replaced with an Anti-Anakin is usually better, but that's not to say that it can't work. Like I just said, you know, I'm repeating myself. But man, oh man, I almost forgot. One story, opened up strong. So Anakin, very first chapter, Anakin's confronting Palpatine and going, well, I knew you were evil from the beginning. And this is like really, really contrived once again. And you wouldn't believe Palpatine managed to see this coming. So what's his backup plan? Oh, he pulls a Force Unleashed too. Oh, you're gonna take the good path? Well, sucker, I cloned you, and your clone is uber evil. So clone, go and kill all the Jedi in the temple. You got it, Master. I'll get right on. So what is the point? Why did you even try to turn the normal Anakin evil if you had the clone Anakin that is gonna be all evil for you? Hello? What? Who? When? What is this?
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Oh man, you know, whew. The ones where you create a character to be evil just to fill the void of Anakin not being evil, even they can have some depth to them as long as you make your OC interesting and not a Gary Stu or Mary Sue, right? It's really hard to take your story seriously when, in order to make Anakin good, you have to make somebody else evil. You have to sacrifice someone else's character, their motivation, their entire being to fill the void that you think there exists, even though a void may not even exist at all. A guy can just be better if you make them better. You can inject something to make them more interesting. If I go into detail about this story, I'll give it away. And to be honest, it wasn't even written that badly. It was just... it was a lot of leaps taken to make this story even work. A certain character from a certain history traveled into the future. This character is very beloved of the Star Wars community. it's very hard to say this in a non-giving away fashion. This character ended up in a relationship with Anakin, and it was semi-believable. Replacing Padme, obviously. But what happened was that this character could use the Force, so I can say that, because she had a past where she may or may not have also been evil at some point, but then redeemed. Ooh, man. You really saw it coming when Palpatine was like, if I can't have the Chosen One, I'll have this semi-chosen one. I can't go into depth because it's just going to give away what this story is, and like I said, it wasn't even written that badly. It was just why does someone feel the need to sacrifice someone's character to redeem another one? Don't do that. Just write a good story where one character can be redeemed beforehand. You know? It really goes to show that you are bankrupt of a good idea on how to make someone good if you're going to sacrifice somebody else for their benefit. It also goes to show that you don't give a shit about that other character, or if you do, you think like some comic book writers where it's like, oh, why don't I just randomly turn this good guy evil just because I think it would be cool? It's not even that you have a good idea as to why they're evil or has something cracked in their mind. You're just thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool if Superman looked like this? Or wouldn't it be cool if Batman looked like this or acted like this? Wouldn't it be cool if X, Y, or Z? It just... why? No, it's not cool. I mean, it could be cool, but you have to make it also interesting, validating, intriguing, not bullshit. So, yeah. This one, not as long as the other one, I hope. I don't know, probably is. But, really, the Anti-Anakin, it can work. Like, any trope can work. But you gotta put time and effort into it. And I've seen so many bad examples of Anakin being, okay, a good guy, so let's replace him with Ahsoka Tano, Mace Windu, fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi, Asherad Het, just someone, anyone to be... Anakin's clone, but I'll just leave y'all with this. Once again, story, not all that badly written. But let me ask you, who better to replace Anakin as the bad guy than his fucking wife? I've seen it, I've read it, I've been enraged. I'll leave it there. This is episode 2 of Bad Star Wars Fanfic Tropes. I'll see y'all later. Peace.